Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Double Dash Motorsport Media YouTube channel for another round of the 2021 Legends of Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. Racing here tonight at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, an absolute classic. Montreal is our host for round 7 and the third appearance of the season of our GT Legend mini-series and the Ferrari 488 GT3s. My name is Andrew Mather. Alongside me in the virtual DDMM comms box, as ever, thankfully provided to us still by Discord, is my partner in crime, the one and only Mr. Howard Mitchell. Good evening, Howard.
Good evening, Andrew. Good evening, everybody. Hello to you all. A very, very warm welcome in both senses of the word. To be honest, it's quite warm where I am, Andrew. So we'll see if we can last through this one. Canada, of course, Montreal in particular, famous for one particular instance of a very long race. Hopefully we're not on duty for quite that long tonight, but nevertheless I think we are due some really good racing. And if you're probably going to correct me, mate, but was this not the first circuit where we held the first fully fledged in earnest round?
Ooh, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was in the Masters last year.
Yeah, so it feels good to be back. It feels nice to be here in our virtual racing world. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Good evening to RA Baz68, who's already there, active in the chat, saying good evening, DDMM. Do let us know who you are, where you're watching from, and who you're supporting as well here in the chat. Always great to have folks along. Howard, let's have a look at the championship scores. As we say, we're kind of at the midpoint of the season now, at the midpoint of the year. How are things looking at this stage going into the racing this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. Round 7 of 13. So we'll get onto the format for this round in a moment. But basically, we've got 2 races. Once we've done that first race, we are dead bang centre in the middle of the season. So yeah, interesting stuff at the moment. All of these scores at the moment with no drop scores to be applied. I'm sure we'll get to talking about that certainly as we get towards the sharp end of these championships. But it is Michael J. Preston who leads the point standings at the moment with those 570 points. Steve Hicks in second place there, coming off the back of his second place last time out at Barcelona. Tom Banks there in third, Ben Bennyworth, Edward Keithley, but down in 6th place, someone we cannot ignore because he has the momentum behind him and then some. 4 round wins on the trot now for Josh Ladd, only that far down the championship table because we're showing you the total points and he wasn't with us for round 1. So if one did take into account drop scores, that is a big story that cannot be ignored. And then we get to the sharp end of our Class 2 runners. James Fremont there, just 1 point separating him at the moment from Andrew Dawson and Matt Hale. So really interesting stuff at the sharp end of that as well. Chris Hansen, of course, right with them as well. Just some 15 points further back from Matt Hale to round out the top 10. So really interesting at that point of the championship table. If we look a little further down, and we've got Anwar Barul Smith now falling down that table. Really successful when he was racing with us earlier in this season, but had to call time on his championship campaign this year due to other commitments, but still impressive score. And then we've got some of our other drivers who've been taking part. Still great to see how many we've had taking part this season. Yeah, it goes on to page 3, folks. Brilliant how many people have been able to take part.
And there's still plenty of opportunity for folks to get involved as well, Howard, as the season goes on. Have we got to the end of the table yet? I've lost my screen, so apologies.
We have now.
We have got to the bottom of the screen.
Ignore team. They're not competing. I'll have to troubleshoot that one later.
Montreal.
Yes.
I've got to say, this is one of my favourite circuits, I would say, on the F1 calendar. It's a circuit in its own right. It doesn't just host Formula 1 racing. You were very right to mention earlier the competition that we had with the Mazdas last year, which if you want to catch a little bit of that, have a look back at the season trailer, because a lot of the footage from that race got used in that one. But yeah, it's a great racing circuit, but tricky in places. It's a quite unforgiving challenge for the drivers, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a circuit that I feel is quite easy to overdrive. You know, if you're going a bit too leery into these, it looks simple. It looks simple. You look at a map of this place and you go, you know, easy. But if you misjudge the speed that you're carrying into these chicanes, or indeed your exit speeds as well, you can so easily clip a wall. If you're going side by side with someone in particular in an overtaking attempt through at least the middle sector, then it can really go to tears if you don't respect each other out there. The final sector, of course, famous, the long straight, and then the heavy braking into the final chicane with, of course, the Champions Wall. Be interesting to see if anyone comes a cropper there on this occasion. But yeah, I think it's deceptive, this one. It can feel easy, but it can often prove to be anything but.
I think the good thing, though, is that you can overtake round here. There's some really, really big stops on the brakes.
Yes.
So I think we are going to see some great action and a bit of a different feel, I'd say, to Barcelona a few weeks ago. Not that was a poor round by any means. As we say, lots to look forward to tonight. As I say, get involved in the chat. Hello to Baz again, who's watching actually from the Czech Republic and also from Kirith Kalirai's Discord group. Now there's a number of people in. I'm actually looking through to see if Kirith is racing tonight. I'm not sure he is actually, but never mind. Still plenty to watch for. And I do apologise. Trading Paints did me dirty last round. Didn't show the amazing Team Rock livery that Kirith had, but yeah, he's put some great content out recently, Kirith. Not just some of his real-world karting stuff, but it's some of the stuff from Barcelona as well. So, if you are watching, Kirith, let us know in the chat. And also, why aren't you racing? I want to see you back out there. Hello to Greg Smith as well. Evening, chaps. Looking forward to tonight's event whilst I'm working on Lid's track layout for Sunday's event. Yep, Club 100 racing at the weekend at Lid, and I think that's one we're very much looking forward to, Howard. Lid a bit of a driver's favourite over the years.
It feels like sometimes it feels like a bit of an undiscovered gem. Maybe my notion that it's undiscovered is perhaps a bit skewed by the fact that it never featured on a BUKC calendar, but yeah, I always love it when we go to Lid. Such a fun circuit, high speed stuff. Yeah, always great fun, really looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
And funnily enough, high speed with high speed chicane, so it feels appropriate after we've been to Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, you say that. That is actually a very good point, that it does have a bit of a Montreal feel to it, and we'll definitely have some content coming from ourselves over the weekend. We are still planning to put out a Wilson Mill vlog. Apologies, I just haven't edited it yet. It's been a bit of a busy month. Let's talk race format, Howard, for tonight, and give a reminder for those, or maybe just a first time for those watching this for the first time. 2 races tonight, both 40 minutes in length, a mandatory fuel stop, reverse grid for the second one. Indeed.
Oh, Josh won't thank us for coming on board with him at that point. But yes, indeed, mate. This format, one of sort of 2 standard formats that we've been using over the course of the season, the one that we've been using with these Ferrari 488s, and I think it's worked nicely to have the pit stop in there, just to add a bit of spice and variety. I should say as well, mate, I think we should acknowledge, you know, it is warmer weather and all of that out there. Slightly smaller grid sizes tonight, but the way to look at that, number one, that's by no means we're going to be devoid of action the way that this series is delivered. Usually the challenge has been to follow the action, so I've got no concerns on that front. But what it is opportunity. That's the thing to look out for tonight. I think the opportunity for points is huge tonight for some of the drivers who maybe are needing a good competitive score to give their championship campaign a bit of a boost at this midpoint.
Yeah, you made a very good point as we were getting ready for this one and doing a bit of a sound check. You said this field, it feels like a Welsh Club 100 round, and I know exactly what you mean by that. The smaller field, it's a good opportunity for drivers to get, as you say, big points on the board. And I think there's two ways you approach that. You try and take things maybe even more calmly than in previous rounds, because you know you've got a good chance of a good position. Or you go completely the other way and think, well, this is an opportunity to get something better than I've done before, a first win, a first podium. And I say, you called it a Welsh round earlier by that for some of the uninitiated. You're meaning like a Llandau or a Glannigors round, which sometimes don't have as many folks from the M25 come across. And it is producing, or has produced in the past, opportunities to get some big points.
Yeah, absolutely. For anyone who's unfamiliar, Club 100 being a championship that you know, has its roots in the south of England. That's where the its administrative headquarters are and stuff, and its history does mean that there is a slight skew to the folks who compete towards the south, which means for the northern rounds we tend to get smaller grids. I should make it clear, if you are out there and you're in, you know, pretty much any part of the UK and you are interested in taking part, don't let what I've just said put you off. Many and varied people competing from all over Britain in Club 100, but it does have that slight skew to the driver base there. So you get these rounds in Wales, as you say, make quite a way out from the M25. Can just see slightly smaller grid sizes, but the scoring system doesn't change. You know, there's not something scales for the number of people who've turned up. This is exactly the same thing.
I should apologise as well. I'm unnecessarily taking shots at people from the M25 circuit. It's not just you guys, and a lot of you guys do come across to those ones as well. Good evening to DW Media, Mr. David Whitehouse, who's saying let's shake and bake. I'm pretty sure he's on the entry list tonight. In fact, yes, he's our very last entry
Here he is.
tonight of the 24 we've got racing. In fact, let's have a little walk through those racing tonight, or at least those who put entries in. Chris Hansen's back, and he had a very good time in Class 2 in Barcelona, so look out for Chris. This could be a big night for him in his Class 2 challenge. James Fremont's back, Alex Oloro, some good. I think for these drivers in particular, this is a great opportunity to get some top 15s, maybe top 10s. Josh Ladd, arguably the man in form at the moment. He's won the last 4 rounds on the trot, and he's been very, very strong in these Ferraris as well. Tom Dix, there he is in the Jägermeister car. Other spirits and alcoholic beverages are available. Kieran Fitzgerald, good to have Kieran back. He's been away for a long, long time with work, and as I say, other alcoholic beverages are available. There's a Guinness card. That looks pretty good, I must say.
It does look good, doesn't it?
That's got getting me parched now. Thank you, Kieran. Steve Hicks is racing in a homage to Canada's still most famous Formula 1 son, I'd say, in Jacques Villeneuve. There he is. He met the Wall of Champions a couple of times over the years. JJ Aston, he's on the grid for tonight. Matt Horgan competing in the Class 2 ranks. Did very well, as we say, in the 60 Championship last season in the similar class, and he's needing another strong night tonight as he competes against Chris Hansen. Matt Hale, will he qualify? Will he not? Will he go for the reverse grid strat in race 2? Remains to be seen. One of our organising committee there. Tom Edwards is on the grid as well. Look at that Falcon livery.
Liking.
Very good.
1 week
Tom.
on. Yeah, half a week on from the Nürburgring 24 hours. I'm appreciating that.
Yeah, we like that one. Ben Bennyworth and the D&D Wildcard Racing entry. He's back tonight. Ed Keefley going full Lancia. There he is in the Air Italia entry. Christopher Powell in his classic red, black and blue car. We're looking at it from the other way at the moment. There he is. I know, switch back around again. That's the same colours as his race suit. Michael Preston, and your championship leader, of course, racing for Team Motorsport, Team Southampton Motorsport. There he is. Adrian Goodwin also. We've got double Lanciers tonight. Another driver in the Alitalia livery. Murray Adams, who had a very good night at Barcelona last time, Howard. Looking forward to see how Murray gets on tonight. Qualifying is due to begin in a moment. We'll get to that shortly. Just to run through the rest of your entries for tonight. Andrew Dawson, Tom Banks, George Palozzi, Craig Brown, Peter O'Connor. Great to have Peter back on the grid. Hopefully he's got the connection working. He's going to be out there on circuit. Simon Young, who's in the notes racing a navy and white Ferrari F1 2020/1964 homage. That sounds very interesting. We'll catch a sight of that in a bit. And as we say, David Whitehouse, who's going full Ricky Bobby, shake and bake. So qualifying beginning. This is fairly straightforward. Fastest times set the grid for race number 1. On board with Tom Banks, who's respecting the Tony Kanaan, I think, this evening. I don't know what it is about 7-Eleven liveries. I always think Tony Kanaan when I see one. Of course, the Indy 500 recently. It's always a good month, May, for big races. Heading here down to the big hairpin. This is one of the great overtaking opportunities around this circuit. This is, of course, where Robert Kubica had his huge crash in 2007. Exit of this one really, really crucial to try and get as much speed up this long, long back straight. The rowing straights used in the Montreal Olympics to our left. And then into this chicane. How brave do you go into here? There it is. Bienvenue au Quebec. Welcome to the Wall of Champions. And Banks has negotiated that on his outlap pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. As he goes on to his flying lap, let's see if we can pick up. I think I'm keen to perhaps go on board with this gentleman here, Andrew. I think for the initial flying lap of qualifying. Yeah. What pace does Josh Ladd have under him this evening? Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, was that a potential hardware issue? Was that a wheel issue?
I'm not sure. I really want to stay on board now. Let's go on board with him. But that is an unorthodox way to set yourself up for the lap.
He did have troubles, I want to say, was it at Imola? That he had some qualifying issues initially, but managed to rescue them and get a good result. But here we go into the first couple of corners, which I think, Howard, is probably the hardest bit of this circuit to get that braking correct.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. It's easy to overcommit early on in your lap. Going through turn 5 now, the full speed right hand and then braking into the chicane at 6 and 7.
Looking good so far for Josh Ladd. No one's set a time yet. I think the only driver not out on circuit is Andrew Dawson. That's okay. Plenty of time for these drivers to get at least a lap in. They only get 2 flyers, of course. Standard qualifying length for iRacing lobby. Matt Horgan has gone over the line with a 1:35.80, closely matched by Ed Keithley on a 1:35.85. Into the hairpin goes Josh Ladd, slightly late apex there to try and get as much speed out of the hairpin as possible. Steve Hicks has gone quick, 1:35.54 puts him to the top of the timesheets. Chris Hansen has also gone across the line, so your class 2 battle. Remember, red number boards are your class 1s, blues are your class 2s. So Horgan still in pole position in class 2 at the moment. Tom Edwards goes quicker, 1:35.18. But what can Josh Ladd do here? We've not got any indications of your sector times. Here comes Josh Ladd across the line, and he goes second, Howard, on a 1:35.23. So that lap from Tom Edwards, number 58. Absolutely brilliant job in the Falcon Racing livery. Clearly, that paint job, bit of a quick one.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we know, having a nice paint job does genuinely, it's, I think, scientifically proven, right, mate, to make you go faster. So, you know, a very, very good and sound point you make there, mate.
However, if you do, I'm going to give a shout out to our good friend Steve Super GT Brown. You've got to be careful with the new paint job, because sometimes it can make you too quick, and then you have an off.
That's a good point.
Here's Craig Brown, number 41, running the AF Corsa livery again, which was so nice that we put it on our thumbnail. But thank you very much to Tom Banks Photography, who sorted that one out for us from the last round. Had a bit of a tough round, Craig did, at Barcelona. He'll be looking to bounce back tonight. back straight goes Brown. Michael Preston has gone quicker, and to the top of the timesheets, 1:34.58 for the Southampton driver at the moment. Looks like Craig Brown's just trying to get a banker in at the moment, which is a sensible tactic. Who else is improving out there that we can see? It's currently the top 4 covered with Class 1s. Where has Craig Brown gone in all of that? Just waiting for him to come over the line. Here's Steve Hicks, currently in 4th position.
I think he's improving this lap, is Hicks.
No, I also think that Craig Brown's also not... Actually, no, he was on his out lap. Apologies, he was on his out lap. That's why he's not registered the time. That's absolutely fine. David Whitehouse has come into the pits. He's done a 1:38.5. Currently about 4 seconds covering the field. And we should say, Howard, that this is one of the things that I think we're really enjoying about this series, is the opportunity for lesser experienced drivers to pit their wits against those and learn from those with a bit more time on the sim.
Absolutely, mate. I don't want to keep on harking on about it, as Hicks, he really attacks that final chicane, and I think determines that wasn't...
I think he got an off track there.
Yes, quite possibly. Quite possibly. But yeah, I don't want to hark on about it too much, but coming back to this circuit, where, as I say, I'm pretty sure we had our first ever proper championship round for this Legend Series. It's great to think how so many drivers have come a long way as Michael Preston pushes the limits with the wall there of the of the turns 3 and 4. Now coming through the turn 6 and 7 chicane. It's great to see how so many drivers have come a long way, you know, in the sim, and how the Legend Series. Obviously, there's loads of series and ways to gain experience in iRacing, but it's great how this championship has formed a really nice social part of that development that a lot of our drivers have had. So that's always something I love to see in this series.
So it's still Michael Preston on pole position at the moment, clear by some 0.6 of a second ahead of Tom Edwards. Josh Ladd, I think, is still circulating as well. So we'll see if he can improve on his lap time. Or is he coming to the pits, Howard?
No, he is circulating, that is correct. So let's see if we can pick him up. I don't think Michael... Sorry, go on, mate.
From Ed Keithley's gone in. He's got 7th place, a 1:35.7. It's so tight from 2nd down to 9th, or 8th I should say, less than a second covering that group of drivers, which is really, really good to say. Here is Josh Ladd across the line. Where does he go?
It's not an improvement.
No, I don't think he registered a lap time.
Here's JJ Aston across the line. Is he setting a timer? I think he's just beginning his flyer, actually. Apologies, that was a time. So, fair few drivers choosing to take to the pits at this point.
Yeah, I think Craig Brown's had some qualifying issues, and George Palazzi as well, of course. It's always, I think, one of the really harsh bits of iRacing is the off-track in qualifying. I get why it's there, but it can mean the slightest of mistakes mean that your lap time is deleted. Having said that, we do see that in real life. If you remember back to Lando Norris at Imola a few weeks ago, lost the potential of a front row start there in the Grand Prix as he ran ever so slightly wide. On board with Christopher Powell, currently in 14th place on the grid. I think this is his in-lap actually, and I think he's just using it to get a little bit more practice in, which is absolutely fine. Very sensible thing to do, especially if you've not had as much time to practice in the sim as some others perhaps. We did have a few drivers in a test session earlier in the week on Sunday night. Do keep your comments coming in, and if you don't mind sharing the stream out as well on the various social media platforms, whatever you're on this evening, that would be absolutely fantastic. But qualifying looking pretty much set here, Howard, as the time almost ticks to 10 minutes of the session gone. Michael Preston, we presume, is going to be pole sitter tonight.
Yes, indeed, mate. Looking likely as the checkered flag is flown. So I'm wondering if we can get up the results of that, just as everyone's getting ready to grid up. Let's see if we can get that up for folks there. Yes, indeed. So Michael Preston with the pole, as you say, mate. Tom Edwards in second, Josh Ladd in third, Steve Hicks, Matt Horgan in fifth, the highest placed Class 2 runner as we head into the racing action. Good lap times as well within Class 2 from Chris Hansen, Murray Adams. A lot of the familiar players featuring up near the sharp end. There's no one who I think has had an uncharacteristic one in many ways, mate. Albeit, as you say, Craig Brown and George Palozzi both having some. I think those weren't tactical ones. Those were they had some sort of problem setting a time. And we should say Matt Hale has qualified. He has chosen to do that.
Very good stuff. Looks like we are about ready then to go here for heat number 1. A couple of drivers forming up in the grid. Rolling start, of course, here in a sports cars race. Michael Preston here, I feel, Howard, it needs to get a good start. He had some issues last time round. And if he's going to start clawing some points back in terms of net gain on Josh Ladd, he'll want to take advantage of the fact that he's on the front row and Ladd's there on the second.
Absolutely. Oh, that's a good logo, mate.
I like that one. It's very good, isn't it? And the BUKC one's pretty good as well. Keep your comments coming in, folks. Let us know who you think's going to be good for this one. Matt Hale says, enjoy, guys, with a beer. Now, I'm not quite sure that's allowed, but there you go.
Could be a non-alcoholic one. Could be an alcohol-free one.
That's a very good point. You make a very good point indeed, sir. The Porsche pace car is on the move for the starts here of round number 7. It's your 2021 Legends of Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. Racing here round Circuit Gilles Villeneuve tonight in Montreal. Andrew Mather and Howard Mitchell, your DDMM commentary team. Remember, you've got double-mm.com/live-timing. Just pop that in the chat. You've got a second screen, pull that up, you'll get all the live timing information available publicly. And Howard, very, very early, Michael Preston has gone for it. He's bolted and got a huge lead as they come over to start 40 minutes round here in Montreal.
Absolutely, mate. That is the dream start. One almost has to question if that one's a fully legitimate start in some ways, as Michael J. Preston has got a full jump on all of them. Here they are fighting further back.
Yeah, I think there's a spinner. I think it might be Murray Adams. Yes, it is. So Murray Adams had a spin into turn 1. A corner we've seen many an incident over the years. But that's not a good start for Murray Adams there, and it relegates him to the bottom of the order. All looking pretty clean so far. Tom Dix, though, he's in a bit of bother through the chicane there in the Jägermeister car. Has already got a bit of damage to the front. Tom Banks goes past. Chris Powell looking around the outside as well, but apart from that, looking pretty clean here, Howard.
Yeah, looking pretty decent this one, mate. I think it's going to be frustration for those spinners because I don't think we're going to see any form of a full course or safety car. But then again, in the case of Tom Dix, he's just lost a few positions. We haven't had anyone fall too far off the back, so hopefully things are all okay there. Oh, well, this is David Whitehouse who's gone off. Trying to work out which chicane that's at, actually.
I think that is coming through turn 6 and 7, so it's on his way back down towards the hairpin. It looks like Murray Adams has been involved as well, so Ricky Bobby is not on fire at the moment, but he is spinning around in the grass. There's Craig Brown. Looks like has he got a little bit of damage to the rear left as well? Is he running at full pace at the moment? He's in 18th position.
No, is it even crabbing slightly, mate?
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's straight to me.
Fast repairs are available in this series. So in they go. So a couple of drivers already in trouble. And that's the thing with a smaller field tonight. That'll be a little bit frustrating, I think, for them, because it'll be hard for them to make up positions now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got at the front our championship leader, and chasing him down in second is Josh Ladd, who is our, and I say chasing him down in second, both within the race, and it sort of feels within the championship as well, mate, with the momentum that he's had for the last few rounds. And then here's our third place battle, the Falcon liveried car. There is that of Tom Edwards with Steve Hicks in that BAR liveried effort in fourth place behind Chris Hansen, the highest place of the Class 2 runners.
Yeah, so that's a really good start for Chris. He qualified behind Matt Horgan. In fact, where is Matt? Is he? No, he is running. Oh, I got a little bit panicky for a second then. I thought Matt had some form of connection issue, but he's running in 10th place. Andrew Dawson has just gained a position ahead of Ben Bennyworth. There is Tom Banks in 7th place. And, oh boy, there's a bobble hat racing crew battle about to begin, because right behind Banks is his fellow rally nerd, Kieran Fitzgerald, there in 8th.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting little train of cars, this one. So we showed you the third and fourth place battle. There's then a good battle going on between Chris Hansen and Edward Keithley over 5th. And then it's this train of cars led by Tom Banks, as that looked like Tom Dix trying to go down the inside of Kieran Fitzgerald there into turn number 1, but it wasn't on this time.
Yeah, good defence there from Fitzgerald into the first chicane. So, of course, where Sebastian Vettel had his slight rallycross moment a few years ago. Matt Horgan there in the purple and yellow car. I think Tom Dix will be a little bit frustrated at the moment, trying to break his way through. You can see those Class 1 cars ahead of him starting to get away. On board now with Matt Horgan into the second chicane. It's looking good on the brakes, Howard, there. That's good stuff from the number 27. A good number to run around this circuit as well.
Yes, absolutely. Historically, of course, that of Mr. Gilles Villeneuve. Seems appropriate.
Good battle this at the moment. Just looking further down the order, Matt Hales gained a position on the last lap. JJ Aston as well has in fact gained 2 positions. George Palozzi has got past Whitehouse as well, but here comes Tom Dix now attacking Kieran Fitzgerald. Does he have the straight line speed? I think Kieran's letting him go actually, which is in fact, no, he's going in the pits. Now this is an interesting tactic. I think Tom Dix is thinking, get in and do a fast repair. That front end damage is costing him straight line speed, so he's elected to go for his pit stop now, the early strat, get some repairs and get back out on circuit. The trouble is now, Howard, he's going to be out of the mix, out of the group, and is not going to have anything in terms of a slipstream to help him into the pits again. I thought for a second he was going to go for a drive-through penalty. Maybe that was why he was coming in, but no, he's in the box. And yeah, Tom Dix being forced there to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely going to be interesting to see. He's got to get on the pace. We're here with the 5th and 6th place battle, though. This is Edward Keithley in that the Lancia livery there, chasing the Chris Hansen effort in the Legends. You know how you can have a house wine? I like to call it the house livery.
Yes.
It's the
G3
very
Pro approved.
Yes. The very fetching go-to livery.
Big thanks to G3 Pro, of course, our sponsors of this series. Prizes available for the drivers at the end of the season. Still lots of racing, though, to decide who gets those prizes, including a free race in the 2022 Teams Endurance Series in Club 100. Not decided which team it's with, though. Could be with us. Could be.
That wouldn't be a prize then.
That is true. That is true. Maybe put them alongside G3 Joe. Maybe that's what we need to do. Guaranteed trophy as well. But yeah, Chris Hansen doing a good job ahead of Ed Keithley. I have to say, Ed Keithley, you know, he's there in Class 1 with the experience he gained last year, and I think he's got even better over the past couple of rounds. He's been putting in some very strong results. Here's JJ Aston trying to chase down. Well, if Chris Hansen's is the house livery, is this the super special house livery? What's this one that Matt Hale's running with the patriotism on the side of the car?
I'm not sure my analogy works anymore. Yeah, it's the... Well, I don't know, because you can have, you know, the house red and the house white, the house rosé. This is the, you know...
House rosé?
Yeah. I think you've been very kind to humour me this far with that one, to be honest, mate, but yes, let's call it that.
This is your fight over 13th position. What's happened there? That's Tom Banks in trouble. Banks slipping backwards. He was running as high as 7th, but is now, well, he's doubled that position count. He's down to 14th.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to try and immediately make positions back with JJ Aston. Is he going to have the drive off of the corner? Yes, he is. So he's going to get that back. Meanwhile, further up the road, Chris Powell looks like he's in a right battle here, Andrew, as they're heading towards the final chicane.
Yeah, on board with him now. He's got a massive run on Kieran Fitzgerald and actually taps him in the rear a little bit. I had a bit of a flashback there to an incident that we saw, mate, in the Nürburgring 24 hours in the latter stages. I thought Powell was going to be smashing into the rear bumper there of the Irishman's car, but he's just about got away with it. There were some drivers in the pits as well on that last lap. Matt Horgan and Ben Bennyworth are both into pit lane for their mandatory pit stop in this race. Will be interesting to see where they come out in relation to Tom Dix, of course, because they were in the same group before Tom Dix made his pit stop. On board with Powell now, trying to take those tighter lines. See Andrew Dawson. Andrew Dawson's made some good progress in this early stage, Howard. He's up there to 7th position. He's doing a very good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good drive so far from Dawson in the number 23.
The tactics have worked for Dix, by the way. He's got back out ahead of Horgan and Bennyworth, but that was a little bit of an error from Fitzgerald as they went through the second chicane. Will Powell have the opportunity now to get the overtake done into the hairpin? He's looking to the inside. How brave on the brakes is he down the inside? Pretty brave and pretty effective too. Looks like Powell in the 769 has got the position, but here comes Fitzgerald back trying to do the undercut there. He will have the slipstream now onto the back straight. The final chicane and the wall of champions beckons for both of these drivers. The slipstream in effect now for Kieran Fitzgerald. Powell leaving him just enough room there on the inside. Oh, and this time I think Powell's going for the pits, and that's a wise move. Banks goes for the pits as well, because I think they've seen, Howard, the pace that Tom Dix has is going to threaten their race positions here.
I'm going to say kudos to Kieran Fitzgerald as well, mate. If you're playing chicken with someone on the brakes, or you think you are, and they peel into the pit lane, it is so easy to overshoot the chicane, and he judged that brilliantly to actually go, no, this is the break point, and not, you know, didn't let... You almost have to sort of swallow your pride in spite of the fact that the person that you're battling with isn't really battling with you because they know they're going in. Yeah. But, yeah, plenty of pit activity going on at the moment. Let's have a bit of a look at who's coming out. Chris Powell coming out there. Tom Banks is coming out, having done his stop. So highest placed of your stoppers so far is Tom Dix, who was our very first person to stop. Craig Brown there is in the pits, but I think he's been there for an inordinate amount of time, actually, mate. So not sure what the deal is on that one, unfortunately. Yeah,
he came in on just about completing lap 6. I wonder if he's had a secondary incident, so been in for a fast repair and then had another one. Here is Josh Ladd, though, second place in this race at the moment. 11 minutes and 26 seconds of it gone so far. 2 races of 40 minutes here tonight. The gap, 1.33 seconds ahead to Michael Preston. This is a real cat and mouse game, I feel, at the moment, Howard. These two, I think it's fair to say, are cut above the rest of the runners in the season at the moment. They've both had some great achievements in the iRacing community, and they're going toe-to-toe here yet again here at Montreal.
Absolutely, mate, and we're going to cut back as well here because the third place battle that's going on behind them as well. Hicks is beginning to apply some real pressure here to Tom Edwards. Going to be interesting to see if they start to battle, to be honest with you, or whether they're just going to use each other to pace themselves to try and keep the lap times up. In many ways, certainly when you get onto this back straight here, I'm sure Hicks will be grateful for the tow in many ways.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a little bit early in the race to start playing some of those aggressive tactics that do lose drivers time. The gap they have to Chris Hansen looks to be about 5 seconds at the moment. And then a few more seconds back is Ed Keithley. Here's JJ Aston. What's happening here? Battling for 10th position. He's got George Palozzi just behind the other of the Team Southampton Motorsports cars. The burgundy red. Matt Hale just ahead of him as well in 9th position. Haven't stopped yet, these drivers. Got plenty of time to do so. And in fact, JJ Aston opts to go into the pit lane. Hits his marks, gets the speed limiter on. Straight down the slow lane. That's perfectly fine. Make sure you find your man. I'm very much a subscriber to that pitting technique. Because, you know, you never want to get lost in the pit lane. Not that I've ever done that.
No.
No.
No, I'm glad you said that, mate, because I was about to say myself, I've never known you do that.
No, never. So into the pits comes JJ Aston for his mandatory pit stop. Don't think he's going to get out ahead of Tom Dix.
Nope.
Is he going to get out ahead of Tom Banks? Christopher Powell and Matt Horgan have gone by. There is Tom Banks. I don't think he's going to get out ahead of Banks, but he's got a good chance of getting out ahead of Ben Bennyworth. Blends out. Oh no, overcooks it. That is so easy to do here at Montreal. Oh, and he's cost himself the position. Ben Bennyworth goes through. That's a real shame for JJ Aston. Just a little bit too excited there, out of pit lane.
Yeah. On such things, your race can take a bit of a downward turn, but he hasn't lost too much time. It's still worth him just keeping the clear head and trying to get himself back onto the pace with that one.
But yeah, still plenty of the race to go. Here's a fight at the moment for 15th place, but a bit out of position because of the pit stop strategies being played. Matt Horgan and Christopher Powell trying to reel in David Whitehouse at the moment, who has not pitted. 15 minutes of the race gone, 25 minutes to go.
I'm just trying to remember what kind of position Tom Dix pitted in from, mate. He's setting decent pace.
It was around 7th or 8th, I think, yeah, because he was in 8th place. He was behind Tom Banks at the time, before Banks had his issue. And he's probably in the range at the moment. I mean, it's Kieran Fitzgerald, in effect, that you've got to say that he's racing against at the moment. He seems to have gone with the long strat. David Ricky Bobby Whitehouse is into pit lane for his mandatory pit stop. Stops there from the mid-teens. Craig Brown still in the pits, of course, and James Fremont not running out there. Also back on board with Powell. Matt Horgan looking very good on the brakes again. There in that purple and yellow liveried car. Just keeping an eye on what's going on in terms of the front battles. It's still hanging around a second and a bit between Michael Preston and Josh Ladd at the moment. And similar between Tom Edwards and Steve Hicks. Tom Banks pushing hard as well. Looking like maybe is he closing a little bit, Howard, on these two?
Yeah, I almost feel that as Chris Powell dropped back a little bit from Matt Horgan over the course of this particular lap that we've been with him, and yeah, it's allowing Tom Banks just to reel them in. Had a little bit of a moment earlier on, didn't he, Banks? We didn't see what began it, but at one of the chicanes in the just lost a bit of time there, so a little bit of a recovery going on for him, just to try and recoup what he can. From the positions.
Yeah, it's still plenty of racing to go here at Montreal. We've got the second race coming up, effectively over an hour's worth of racing. Here are your front runners though. Michael Preston ahead of Josh Ladd there. Josh Ladd running in the gas heat livery again. Through the chicane. Look at the commitment. Oh, great stuff there. Flirting with the wall of champions was Josh Ladd. It just feels, I wonder, Howard, are these two starting to pick up the pace now? Let's have a look at their lap times. 1:35.43 for Preston last time around. 1:35.48 for Ladd. Their ultimate pace at the moment. Josh Ladd has done the 1:34.75, fastest of the race so far. 1:35.0 for Preston. There'll be a little bit of tyre wear starting to come in though. And we have found, mate, racing this Ferrari ourselves in some of the VRS events, that the tyres, they have an initial bite, then they have a bit of an understeery phase, I find. And then they kick into life again, probably towards the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's got one of the most... as we get very close to the wall there, and from this particular camera angle, go through it. On board with Josh Ladd. But I think it's got one of the most dynamic tyre life cycles of anything I've driven in iRacing, and there's plenty of stuff I've still not driven in iRacing. But you're absolutely right. We go through quite the aging process on this tyre. There's a part of the stint where you just get this understeer phase, and you're forgiven for thinking you're on the wrong tyre or just it's dead, but then it comes back in. As how close do we get to the wall of champions there? Nice and close. Not holding back, is he, at the moment, is Josh? I thought I'd enjoy the suspension cameras on this round.
Well, both of them in the 1:35.3s last time. These two are really pushing hard here, Howard. They're not leaving anything on the table as we're about to approach the halfway stage of this race. I think from Josh's perspective, obviously he's had some great form. He had a very good night in terms of net point gain at Barcelona a few weeks ago. We're going to focus now on this battle between Powell and Banks. Tom Banks not able to get past Powell at the moment because he's right there in the middle of the circuit. Is Banks going to go for a move down the inside on the brakes? Oh, he's locked up the rears and he's had to go straight on, and that will give Christopher Powell a breather. And that's another characteristic I find of this car, Howard. That is so easy to do as well. Snatch a brake and you have to get out of it. As into the pits comes George Palozzi from 11th position. That's actually quite a good save by Banks. I'm just watching it back on my replay monitor in DDMM HQ. That could have gone very, very easily wrong.
Looking back.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
Indeed, looking back at Matt Hale from Kieran Fitzgerald. And this is in the battle. At the moment, over 8th place, but these two yet to pit. And actually, George Palozzi coming into the pits, mate, when he did enter the pit lane, he was in amongst it with these two. So these two need to be pushing at a time like this if possible. Meanwhile, Palozzi, of course, is going to try and hit the ground running coming out of the pits. So it's interesting. The pits have been generally quiet for the last couple of laps. And as I say that, Josh Ladd comes in for his stop from 2nd place.
Does indeed.
You can see your driver tracker in the top right.
It's interesting to see what Josh Ladd does here, because he's pitted pretty much on halfway. 14. Well, they're on to the 14th lap now. So this is one of the reasons why I quite like these fuel races, because now we're looking at the absolute lap times that the two drivers are completing. Can Josh Ladd keep on that same pace as Preston, or maybe even go faster than Preston with a higher fuel load now?
Absolutely. As Aloro is in the pits, we're going to cut to this battle between Palozzi and Adams. So Palozzi's fresh out the pits and has had to get right on it because of the pressure being applied here Nice little camera angle to look at the Wall of Champions. There we go.
You mind our cameras, please, Mr. Palazzo? They cost a lot of money. No, they don't. On board with Murray Adams into Virage Senna. It's a tricky complex. Looking pretty planted there is Murray. Alexandre Aloro, as you say, Howard, is rolling out of pit lane now. I think he's going to get out ahead of David Whitehouse, holding to 17th position. More great logos on that car there, Howard.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Ed Keithley's in from 5th place. Very, very strong early run in the first half of this race for Ed Keithley. Let's see where he comes out. Don't worry, just driving through Craig Brown there. That's the bottom end of the pit lane for the number 99. JJ Aston, by the way, I think has had another issue because he's gone one lap off the overall lead. Where is Ed Keithley going to slip out here? I wondered, where's he going to be in relation to Tom Dix? This is going to be the first indicator for me, Howard, as to how that strategy for Tom Dix has played out. There is Tom Dix in the orange car coming across start-finish now. That indicates to me, Howard, that this early strategy that Dix has applied has worked pretty well. He's gained some positions out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't miss him there in his orange Jägermeister car. Other spirits are available. But yeah, it's worked quite tidily. It's always that risk, isn't it? Can you stay on the pace? If you pit as early as he didn't even have any other cars around him to sort of pace himself off. That can work for some drivers. It can actually be detrimental to others. But so far he's made it work. As also into the pits now comes Tom Edwards and Chris Hansen, both on pit lane.
Good evening to Aidan Bliss Karting, who's gone in touch with us in the chat. Says, rumour has it Josh Ladd refused my generous offer to integrate a rather large version of his face into his Yaz Heat livery. Highly disappointing. I wholeheartedly agree with that. That is just not good enough from Mr. Ladd, and that needs to be rectified. We've obviously seen examples of Aidan's work in the past, putting his own face on the bonnet of these cars, and it's absolutely exemplary, Howard.
It absolutely is. This is an interesting moment now for Steve Hicks, Andrew. If he was hoping to jump past Tom Edwards in the pits.
Surely he's lost time there behind
exactly.
Alexandre Loro.
Yeah, not the easiest circuit to let someone by. I think it's fair to say this one. At least, well, this back straight would have been ideal. But if you get caught in the middle sector, you're caught in the middle sector. But yeah, I wonder if that will have forced Hicksy into the option that he's going to have to now get a pass for third on the track rather than in the pits. Does he indeed choose to pit?
Leader is in the pits. Also in and out actually are Fitzgerald and Hale, and they've come out behind George Palozzi, so that's promoted Tom Dix up to 8th position. Andrew Dawson is still yet to pit, but here's the critical point in this first race of the night. Can Josh Ladd get out ahead? And there's a little bit of a glitch there. That's not the first time that car's done that tonight. He's almost sort of like he's got contact damage with the wall, and then it pops back down again. I think the stewards will be looking at that afterwards. And where is Michael Preston? He's taken the lead. He's still in the pit lane. So what's happened here to Michael Preston? This is quite a long pit stop because he's been jumped by Steve Hicks.
Yeah, side by side almost with Hicks as they come out here. What on earth went wrong there for Michael Preston? He's lost out hugely to Josh Ladd there.
Well, I'm quite surprised there. I mean, Michael Preston had not pitted up to that point, so we'll have had a fast repair if it was that kind of problem. He can't have used, surely he can't have used that much more fuel to mean that he had about 6 or 7 seconds over Hicks. And when he pits, that's quite strange for Michael Preston. Not that that's a problem for Josh Ladd.
has he now overfilled on the fuel?
Possibly.
Did he just brim it, and he didn't need to because we're already 27 minutes into a 40-minute race?
Yeah. Well, we'll try and find out what happened there later on, but that's really changed the shape of this race, Howard.
Yeah, you can untick fast repair, can you?
You can.
Or does it just?
You can indeed. I mean, that's really baffled me there as to what's happened to Michael Preston, because not only has he lost the lead, he's lost second and third place as well. Tom Edwards on for a really strong result here if he can keep this position for the next 12 minutes or so. But surely Steve Hicks starts to get racy now. They're not going to catch Josh Ladd unless something extraordinary happens. I mean, in saying that, we saw something quite extraordinary in the Grand Prix at the weekend when Max Verstappen was in a similar position. This is motorsport after all, even in the sim world.
I'm afraid we've got someone else, I think, who's having pit problems in addition to Craig Brown now, Andrew. JJ Aston came in for his stop and has now been in the pit lane for some 3.5 minutes. So an issue there, I fear, for him. He's dropped well back in the order now. Yeah,
that's a shame for JJ there. He's going to have a good position for the reverse grid. If you look at that bright side of things. On board with Michael Preston now. Maybe slightly frustrated having seen what's happened in this race so far. Was in the lead of it, looking in control, but then something's gone wrong. Try and find out what did go wrong during the pit stop phase, which has left him in 4th place now. There is Josh Ladd. You just see him going through the bottom of your screen now. A huge lead, what are we looking at? 11 seconds, I think, out to Tom Edwards. Then Steve Hicks ahead of us here on camera with Michael Preston. This group have 12 seconds over Chris Hansen, who's also your leader in Class 2.
One of the closest battles on the track at the moment, Andrew.
What do you do here, Howard, if you're Preston? There's still a lot of racing to go tonight. How aggressive do you take it? Because you've got to think in terms of championship, getting back up to that 2nd place, really, really key now that Josh Ladd has pulled away.
Absolutely. No, I do think you do need to be aggressive at this point, but there's still 10 minutes as Steve Hicks is a little slow out of the chicane there. I think Preston had the overspeed but nowhere to go and use it. Relatively narrow circuit here at Gilles Villeneuve. But yeah, I think you've still got 10 minutes on the clock, Andrew,
yeah.
and Preston can be confident that he has got the pace. He did have the pole position. So you need to be on a mission, but he can pick his moment, I think, with this one. He must know that pending any disaster for Josh Ladd, that ship has sailed perhaps in this one. He's down the inside of Hicks here, and that looks to me, unless Hicks gets really good drive off the corner, he does, to be fair, get a good switch back off the corner. I wonder, does Hicksy have a response to this?
Well, he's definitely going to have a go, because he's been wanting to try and catch and overtake Tom Edwards throughout this whole race so far. Just tucking in behind then. Good drive actually that I spotted there for Michael Preston off the hairpin. He was off the racing line, of course, so he'll have lost a little bit of mechanical grip, but the car really kicked off the corner very, very nicely. It's got him up a position back onto the race podium. Cutting back now, here's Murray Adams down the inside of Kieran Fitzgerald. Nice move there by Murray Adams. That's him up to 13th place.
Yep, really nice move that we were able to check in with there, and managed to position his car well there. Kieran just got a bit hung out on the exit of that chicane, which means that the deal was just sealed with that little cheeky sort of, don't you worry sunshine, I'm coming through. But a nice little move there by Murray Adams. But yeah, to finish the point, Michael Preston must know that it's a 12-second advantage that Josh Ladd has. That ship has sailed, as it were, within this race.
Yeah.
So it is just about picking his moment to get back up to 2nd place. Although we should acknowledge that he is doing that in amongst you know, the likes of Steve Hicks and Tom Edwards. These are not people who lack pace and skill in this Legends Championship, as we're here with the battle over 10th place. Ben Bennyworth in the blue and red livery with Tom Banks behind.
Banks recovering through the field a little bit, slipped down to 14th place before the pit stops. He's got back past a number of drivers there. Can he get back up into the top 10? Class 2 situation, by the way. Still Hansen from Morgan and Dawson in third. This is looking good actually for Andrew Dawson to get a Class 2 podium in a race. It'll be a very good result, taking advantage of the smaller numbers racing tonight here at Montreal. Doing the Landau job, as Josh Ladd is now dealing with back markers. That's David Whitehouse just ahead of him. Alexandre Aloro further beyond, flashing on the lights. Here's Josh Ladd.
What we were talking about difficult place to come across traffic, and that's David Whitehouse taking to the grass, I think, in the hope that he can get out the way out of the leader there. So that was a generous move by David Whitehouse, but I never know quite how I feel about it in the moment, because if you see someone go, it tends to start alarm bells ringing. But yeah, no, David doing his best to get out of the way there. So
it's the re-entry. There was one in the Nürburgring 24 at the weekend where the stay-out went off early along the Nordschleife, and you thought, oh my goodness, how's he going to re-enter back onto the circuit?
Indeed, yeah. We could say in hindsight that David was just doing his best as Josh uses all of that curb, and maybe a bit more than he wanted to. I thought for a second we were going to see a little nudge of the champions, the Wall of Champions there.
Oh, is Kieran Fitzgerald stopped? Or was that a glitch on my screen? No, it's not a glitch. What is that? That's a problem for Kieran Fitzgerald. He's come to a stop here. Is it a connection issue, or has the engine died? What has happened there to Kieran? He was running up in 14th position. That's a real shame. That's a real shame for the 56 on its return to racing here in the Legends of BUKC and Club 100 iRacing series. And, well, now he's found first gear. Is it a rig issue? Is it some form of mechanical issue for Kieran? He's still not able to get going. At least he's pulled over to one side of the road. He's not in an overly dangerous spot on circuit, and now he's quit to the pit lane. That's a real shame for Kieran Fitzgerald, who's having a strong run, but he's out of this race.
Yeah, really unfortunate. We saw him not a few moments ago having a good battle out there with Murray Adams. And yeah, that's a real shame for him. But he will, provided everything's okay with the hardware, have the opportunity to come back from a good grid slot, let's not forget, with the reverse grid in race number 2.
Well, we'll put a message into Fantasy WRC iRacing group and see what's happened down there. Looking back at another member of the rallying / iRacing fraternity, Tom Hanks there in 11th place. Riding on board with his Ferrari now. Ben Bennyworth keeping up a good pace here at the moment. Into the second chicane they go. Now, before we had the problem with Kieran there, Howard, I did think I heard a little murmuring of a radio message from race control. A certain Mr. J. Viger. Oh, what's happened there? Ben Bennyworth almost looked like
Tom Banks.
Yeah, it looked like he was letting Banks through, and then Banks was like, "No, after you, sir." It's quite strange for a moment there.
Redefining gentleman racing drivers there, I think.
Banks is going to be side by side now with Bennyworth. Has got the overspeed. Surely has the line into the chicane. Yes, he does, and he's got 10th position. The moment's gone. I was going to do a gag about how a curb warning's been called by Nicky to virtual Nicky to virtual John Viger in race control.
Oh, sorry.
By Mr. Ladd, but no matter. The moment's gone.
Sorry, sorry. I cut across.
No, to be fair, there was some overtaking going on. What's happening here with Ben? Why is he
that's
slow?
slow.
Is it slow down penalty? Is it for gutting the course? Can happen, of course. I think he's back up to speed now. Yeah, I think that was a slow down penalty for through the chicane. Got about 30 to 40 seconds to get rid of the allotted penalty time. We have a report from Bobble Hat HQ. Car just shut off. ABS wouldn't restart. Towing now, and it has restarted. So yes, your sim equivalent of a mechanical failure has occurred to Kieran Fitzgerald. I hope we can get him back in the race. Here's the fight for second place though, Howard. Michael Preston hustling at the back of the Falcon Motorsports, number 58 of Tom Edwards, and they have traffic coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. This one is going to be one to watch in the closing moments of this race. Just a couple of minutes left on the clock. It's David Whitehouse and Alexander Aloro, isn't it, ahead of them, who themselves are having a decent battle over 15th place.
They are indeed, and that'll make things trickier for Tom Edwards, because these two might not necessarily hop straight out of the way. They're having a good fight of their own. They're running their own race. Where is Edwards around the circuit? I think we'll have 2 laps to go. We may squeeze in a third. So Michael Preston needs to pick his moment. He's gone down the inside there into the hairpin. Oh, block pass. Bit of contact between Preston and Edwards, and a move not too dissimilar to one that Preston pulled or was involved with earlier in the season. There was almost a little bit of Anwar Barul-Smith about that one. I think he's learnt from the incidents that took place at Hockenheim. For me, that was fair. It's hard racing. As down the inside is Whitehouse now on Aloro. He's got that position. Good work by David Whitehouse to pick up that position before the leaders come through. There's a problem for Preston. He's out of shape. Somehow he's held on to second place. Matt Hale's coming down the pit lane now. I think he's only just pitted. And Tom Edwards will fight again, trying to go around the outside into turn 1 on Michael Preston. Michael Preston shuts the door. But a robust move there, Howard, at the hairpin by Michael Preston. For me,
absolutely
okay. He was in control. Edwards turned in and found Preston there.
And Steve Hicks is surely going to sniff the opportunity here. He's been able to catch right onto the back of these two. So it's a straight 3-horse fight over second place, and there is still the traffic ahead, Andrew. As we said earlier, if you catch the traffic in this mid-sector, it's not the easiest thing, as Matt Hale has emerged into the midst of that battle, hasn't he? So it's actually a 3-car battle that this 3-car battle is coming onto the back of.
And time is now up, so Josh Ladd is surely going to win this race, even though he's given an F in the chat. Oh, this is very tense now for Michael Preston. Can he hold on to this position as they go into the Wall of Champions chicane for the final time? Josh Ladd is going to take victory here in the first race of the evening in Montreal. A superb jaunt. He takes another maximum score in a race here in the Legends of Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. It's all bottling up through the chicane. I think Matt Hale's got past Alexander Aloro, and here come the leaders through. This is very tense. Is Preston going to get second place? Yes, he is. Oh, breathes a sigh of relief that he's able to hold on to that position ahead of Tom Edwards and Steve Hicks. Very good drive once again from the 001. Chris Hansen wins in Class 2 in the first race of the evening. Tom Dix plays the strategy superbly. Had an incident early in the race, had damage, made the early pit stop, and recovers to 6th place. That's a cracking drive in my opinion, Howard. 7th place is going to be Ed Keithley. Here he is. 2nd place will be Matt Horgan in Class 2, 8th overall. And then Andrew Dawson, who we've not seen much of in this race. Apologies, Andy, but a very good drive from him as well. 3rd in Class 2. Tom Banks will come home inside the top 10. A recovery drive from him as well. Ben Bennyworth had some good overtakes, some good battles out there. Finishes in 11th. Murray Adams had his incident on the first lap of the race. Will finish in 12th. And I think our last car over the line is going to be Christopher Powell there on the lead lap in 13th place, David Whitehouse, Alexandre Aloro, Matt Hale and Kieran Fitzgerald all still running at the end there, a lap off the overall lead. And George Palozzi, JJ Aston, Craig Brown and James Fremont finishing in that race, or classified in that race as well.
Wow. Well, that was highly entertaining, mate. I think that was really interesting to see. There was a lot of aspects to that race that I really liked. Shall we? Let's take a look at the confirmed result before we have a bit of a break.
We do indeed. Josh Ladd, your winner then by some 14.5 seconds ahead of Michael Preston. Tom Edwards, a very close third place. Steve Hicks in fourth. Chris Hansen confirmed as your winner in Class 2 with the blue number boards there, 5th overall. Tom Dix, Ed Keefley, Matt Horgan, Andrew Dawson, Horgan and Dawson, 2nd and 3rd respectively in Class 2. They were inside the top 10, as was Tom Banks. Ben Bennyworth finished in 11th place. Murray Adams in 12th. Christopher Powell, the last of those on the lead lap of the race. David Whitehouse, Alexandre Aloro and Matt Hale had a great scrap there for 14th place right at the end of the race. Kieran Fitzgerald had technical issues, finishes 2 laps down. George Palozzi in 18th. JJ Aston 19th and Craig Brown 20th. They'll be on the front row for race number 2. Unless James Fremont can get himself back into the swing of things. I think he's had technical issues as well. He was a non-classified runner in 21st. Well, we're going to take a short break here on the commentary. There's going to be a short warm-up as well for the drivers and a bit of a break. We'll be back with the second race of the evening in about 10 minutes' time. Welcome back, everybody, to live coverage of the 7th round. Excuse me, I'm going to have a cough for a Dorito. There we go. 7th round of the season for the 2021 Legends of Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. Myself and Howard Mitchell, who I will fade back up and keep him in the dark there. Howard, can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks for turning on the lights. No, yes, hello everybody. Hello, yeah, absolutely good first race. Looking forward to this second one. Looking forward to this second one a lot, mate. And plenty of comments coming in from some of our drivers during this one. Quite a few drivers choosing not to go out in this warm-up session. To be honest, I think, if everyone's rig setup is as warm as my comms position is right now, they probably went to get some fresh air, to be honest. But yeah, good to hear from some of the drivers. Craig Brown saying, noting the fact that it's pole for race 2 with about 3 laps practice and a DNF in race 1 due to a puppy on the sim. So
a puppy on the sim?
That's what he said. That almost sounds like a code for something that I don't know in the sim racing community, but does that literally mean?
Actually, no, I tell a lie. I have seen that. There have been those clips. You've seen on the internet, haven't you, where the dogs leapt into the owner's lap whilst they were in the sim. I've seen, I can't remember which NASCAR driver it was a few months ago, had their daughter switch the screen off as they were barreling around an oval circuit. That was pretty funny. So these are the failure. You don't have differentials and gearboxes and water pumps go in sim racing, at least not in iRacing. You have other things happen to you which can take you out of a race.
I guess if you have a liquid cooled PC, you might have a water pump failure. But that's a stretch. That's a stretch. Michael Preston, it seems I have Valtteri Bottas's wheel gun mechanic on my fuel hose as he didn't stop fueling me.
Yeah, I can see where he's going there. I mean, arguably, if it was Valtteri Bottas' front man, he'd still be fueling now, and there'd be quite a mess in the pit lane. But that is, to be fair, that's one we've had, isn't it, mate? We've had that a couple of times.
In iRacing, yes, we have. I'll tell you what, though, it's a lot cheaper leaving your wheel on a car for 2 days than it is pumping fuel constantly for 2 days. I'll tell you that.
It's all right. It's North America. It's that cheap rubbish 87 octane stuff. What I've just gone and made a tiddle with in the brake is more octane rating, that fuel over there. So anyway, moving on. 10 minutes of the warm-up has been completed, so we will be getting ready for race number 2 very shortly. 40 minutes again, 1 mandatory pit stop, Howard. This is all about the fast drivers and how quickly and efficiently they can get through the traffic.
And I think this is arguably the hardest circuit that we have done this on, at least with this longer race format this season. How is this first lap going to go? If you're a rapid driver coming from the back, as I just said, that comment from Craig Brown, he's got like a handful of laps practice, so with the best will in the world, he's probably not going to be fully up to speed. And how is that going to work with those around him and people? Are we going to get field compression? The risk here of an incident, a pile-up, is far greater under these circumstances than we had in race number 1. So that's going to be a one to watch out for, as already, mate, the field are peeling away.
Apologies, I've got my Streamlabs screen, that's why that's having a little bit of a wobble. But yes, JJ Easton and Craig Brown on the front row. Nearly got caught out there. It's one of the things, though. It's not a full pace lap. It's quite tricky for drivers to get everything up to temperature. I know there have been some changes with the latest update, the latest software drop, where the pace car can do an extra lap, but we're not getting that involved here tonight. We're going to get a race on. Away we go then for race number 2. There's already an incident at the back as Murray Adams is into the wall and already has towed to pit lane, but it's a good start, Howard, for Craig Brown. He will lead into turn 1. JJ Easton in second place, Palozzi and Fitzgerald going side by side for third. Looks like Fitzgerald's got it, but that is just the start that Craig Brown was looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I actually worried a little bit for his start, as he seemed a bit sheepish to me on the back straight. Yeah, managed to get the good start out of the final corner. He was lined up nicely and got a good stop. Not as successful as you saw in that first race from Michael Preston, but having said that, we saw how it went wrong for Michael there. So yeah, but it is pressure here from JJ Easton on Craig Brown, and Craig Brown slow out of the chicane, Andrew, and JJ Easton's got him. I'm not quite sure how that one came about, to be honest with you, but it is JJ Easton to the lead, and there's the contact between Craig Brown and I think it was Matt Hale, and Craig Brown is going to tumble down the order, and does it stay clean? There's a few cars around about. We've got several falling down the order now.
Andrew Dawson's one of them involved, and I think Ed Keithley's in there as well. They finished pretty much together in the last race, and yeah, I know we've not got the replay monitor set up for you to watch on the stream, but I think maybe a couple of drivers a little bit annoyed there. There was a chop across, as yeah, that's a lot of damage to Craig Brown's number 41.
He's back in the pits. I don't think we've seen enough people fall off, Andrew, though, to see the safety car come out. I'm not sure how you feel about that one, but
yeah, no, it's only really, I think, Craig Brown. It's not activated as in Club 100. The minimum number is it's Kieran Fitzgerald got the same problem again. I think he may do, you know, as down pit lane, Josh Ladd and Tom Banks have both come in at the same time. This might be a really good call, actually. With it very tricky to overtake quickly, are some drivers going, do you know what, get in, get the pit stop done, get some clean air out there.
Interesting, the champion of it in the first race, Tom Dix, has chosen to come in, although I have to say, just that little look at him there, I thought he might be crabbing, so maybe he had no choice in that. But it is Matt Hale who's pitted, Josh Ladd, Tom Banks, Tom Dix, and Craig Brown, as we saw, choosing to cut to the pit lane, and I think he may have taken himself out of this one. I'll have to keep tabs on that one. 3 seconds out in front for JJ Easton at the moment. No, excuse me. That's updated all of a sudden for me, with George Palozzi on the tail now. So this is the front of the field, and as you can see, there's plenty of battling.
Sorry, Howard. Good news for Kieran Fitzgerald. He is still running, so I don't know. It might have been a slowdown penalty actually, as to why he just pulled over to the side of the track there through turn number 1. There is Ben Bennyworth looking for a move in the D&D wildcard racing entry. Goes down the inside. It's like a good move from Bennyworth there. That's going to be Michael Preston, isn't it? So yeah, Michael Preston working his way through the field. He's stayed out with this. His title rival has already boxed. Down the inside goes Michael Preston. And that's a good move there by the championship leader. Chris Hansen trying to get involved there as well with Kieran Fitzgerald. He's in amongst it tonight, Howard, on his return.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good little battle going on here in the early stages. As Tom Edwards, one of the drivers, trying to pick his way through, as is Steve Hicks, some of these drivers who we would expect on balance to come up through the field. So easy in this situation to misjudge a braking point and end up endangering your own race or that of one of your fellow competitors, which is never a nice feeling.
Preston trying to get down the inside of Bennyworth there, and it's got the move done. Sorry, Howard. Alexandria Loro is still in the mix there as well. Apologies if had any graphics issues. I think just looking at the replay of the stream, I think we're all good for you. Apologies for having a couple of technical issues out at Long Lawford DDMM outpost. The race continuing though here. So much has happened already in the 4 minutes and 45 seconds of it that have been completed. But George Palozzi, another Team Southampton Motorsport car in the lead of this race, and also leading in Class 2. Kieran Fitzgerald and Tom Edwards going side by side, and Edwards goes into the pit. I think, Howard, that is what you need to be doing right now, getting the mandatory pit stop done and getting yourself out of traffic.
Yeah, highest placed of those pitters at the moment is Matt Horgan, but what you've got to remember, of course, is that people who pitted early, we still had the reverse grid. So within that packet, the difference between this race and the previous one is, I think we've got a bigger group of drivers, as Josh Ladd has now taken 2 pit stops, according to my graphic.
Yeah, I've just spotted that as well. What has happened here to Josh Ladd? Is this a bit of drama? Is this going to be the first of the Ferrari rounds of the season that he does not win? Because you're right, Howard, I'm seeing him a lap off the lead. There's Tom. We're having a look at Tom Banks there. Looks like he's had problems as well.
This is your battle at the front, just whilst we try and work out what's happened there. But battle at the front is still JJ Aston chasing George Palozzi. These drivers choosing not to pit. Good running from David Whitehouse at the moment in that 3rd position.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there. He's not had a massive amount of practice, but he's running very, very nicely here. Ever improving. Probably still our least experienced driver, I'd say, Howard, in the field. Didn't have iRacing for season number 1. I think pretty much everyone else on the grid tonight, maybe the exception of Murray Adams, raced in season number 1. There's Steve Hicks down the inside of Alexandre Oloro. Looks like here Fitzgerald is going to be fighting alongside with Oloro now as well, who I've got to say, I really like Alexandre's livery. Very clean, very crisp. Good colour of colours as well. But Fitzgerald is through, and that's him up to 8th place.
So yeah, the point I was making earlier, Andrew, is unlike that first race, as Murray Adams and Edward Keithley, interestingly, are opting to go into the pit lane at the moment. So going to be interesting to see where Keithley and Adams come out. This is Adams coming off the pit lane. He's going to feed in just ahead of Tom Dix there. But this is the interesting thing. It's not just who's pitting early, it's the fact that you had that reverse grid. So is it not going to pay off as much in race 2 as it would have in race 1 if you're one of the, on average, faster drivers out there, because you're still coming out in a bunch of traffic or with some traffic ahead of you that you've got to make up. You're not just doing clean running necessarily. That's going to be the interesting one, an interesting aspect here. As George Palozzi has dropped behind David Whitehouse and Michael Preston on this lap, Andrew. So
yeah, something's happened to George there. So it's a 3-4 Southampton situation at the moment. And you make that point, Howard, and I don't know whether Michael Preston will be aware that Josh Ladd seems to be have had a problem in this race. Is he now thinking track position is the key aspect of this race now, as he's got past David Whitehouse there, and he's now up to 2nd place.
yeah, absolutely. I think track position has there's a bit of squirreling around in that braking zone there. I think track position may end up, as I say, being a bigger aspect of this one than the previous. So we cut to on board with Chris Hansen trying to find a way past Ben Bennyworth over 5th place.
And this is Chris Hansen, of course, trying to chase down those top 2 Class 2 runners. He's currently 3rd in the subclass for less experienced drivers. As side by side go those 2 drivers, Palozzi and Whitehouse. Whitehouse trying to fight back here on Palozzi. They're going to be side by side pretty much all the way up to the Wall of Champions chicane now. This is good stuff from Whitehouse. Keeps his nose ahead. He's got the ponies and the prancing horses under that Ferrari running very, very nicely. And yeah, holds on to the position. Good stuff from the 308. And will hold on to the Class 2 lead.
Yeah, nice stuff there from David Whitehouse, as you say, mate. Not the most experienced racer in our Legends ranks. Obviously, very experienced in Club 100 machinery. Experience of read to us as well. Is that slow down penalty? Are those slow down penalties for? I was about to say, involved obviously in plenty of the Alpha live streaming stuff that goes on as well as David, but he's lost out heavily as a result of that slowdown. Is that a slowdown for Palozzi as well?
Yeah.
Because Ben Bennyworth must think he's just suddenly come upon. This is like everyone running out of fuel at the end of a race at the moment for Ben Bennyworth.
Decisive down the inside from Chris Hansen there as well. He's got the Class 2 lead now. Big on the brakes. Steve Hicks trying to force his way through as well. He's almost going to get 3 wide down the straight there. On board now with Hicks. Palozzi ahead of us. Then Whitehouse, then Hansen, then Bennyworth. 11 minutes of the race gone, and sad to report that, yeah, I do think Josh Ladd is out of this one. It doesn't look to be running on my timing screen, Howard, and yeah, I think that's going to be an unfortunate way for Josh Ladd's incredible run of results to end here. He's still going to score good points, of course, because he won the first race, but it's surely not going to be the round win that we would have been hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. But yeah, disappointing for him. But I've got to say, Steve Hicks goes down the inside of the chicane. Oh, he judged that braking brilliantly. That was superb stuff from Steve Hicks there. Has Palozzi got a response to that?
Chris Powell into the pit lane behind this battle, Howard. Oh, Palozzi's almost on the grass there, trying to get it all sorted up. He does just about get it sorted. But Hicks is through. That's him up to 6th.
Apologies, did we miss a change for the lead with Michael Preston? I can't remember if we actually saw that one take place.
Yeah, Michael Preston to the front of the field then has got past JJ Aston. There he is. Surely now we'll just look to consolidate the position, bang those fast laps in, and look to build that lead over the other Class 1 drivers coming through the field, the likes of Ben Bennyworth, the likes of Steve Hicks. Here's David Whitehouse running in 5th place at the moment, going under the bridge into the 2nd chicane. I've got to say, this is a really good performance from Whitehouse. This will be a big confidence booster. Week 13 of Season 2, of course. Everyone will be heading into their Season 3s. A good opportunity to learn a new car, perhaps. There's Kieran Fitzgerald, just behind Alexandre Aloro. This is the fight over 8th place. Back from Aloro.
It's, if anything, as much as these races ever do, mate, I feel like we have reached a little bit of just a simmer point. It's just calmed down as Steve Hicks takes to the pit lane. So, interesting point to have chosen to have pitted this one. I think this one, Andrew. He's not gone for the super early stop, but he's also not going deep into this race. Going to be interesting to see how this pans out for him. Perhaps felt that he was just losing time in amongst that traffic.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. He was losing a bit of time. Where he comes out in relation to Tom Dix, and there is Tom Dix. You see the orange car in the background. That is the key one, I feel here, Howard. Matt Hale has stopped, but has had, I think, some. I think that may have been a damage-related stop as opposed to the mandatory stop, and that's worked pretty well for Hicks. He's got a good 9 seconds up the road now to the next stopper, but interestingly, that is Tom Edwards. Tom Edwards was one of those very early stoppers, wasn't he, Howard? And he's got himself in a very nice position now, where he could be the biggest challenge to Michael Preston at the front of the field, as George Palozzi goes past David Whitehouse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was, we sort of caught the end of that. I'm not sure if that was Whitehouse going deep or letting him by. It doesn't look like it was him letting it by, does it? This is...
As JJ Aston's in the pits, and once again, the straight line speed of David Whitehouse's car, he's definitely kept the front end of that and the slipperiness in a straight line in check across the course of the last 15 minutes. There is JJ Aston into the pits, as we say, pitted from 2nd place. Very solid first 15 minutes, if I may say so. Howard has bounced back well from the disappointment of race 1. running in a good position, and that's what you got to do when you take that advantage of the reverse grid. And the fast repair change as well there. New front bumper fitted on in record time.
Yeah, interesting to see where he comes out in all this. Matt Horgan has gone by, Tom Edwards has gone by, so JJ Aston feeds out into this one. Third of the runners who have pitted.
Yeah, he's massively jumped ahead of Steve Hicks there. So I don't know whether Steve Hicks has received Bottas's fuel man. Yeah, Hicks has lost a lot of time there in relation to the number 15.
Yeah, you can see there on your driver trackers, you can see how far back the 12 is. It's not even in the shot when we look further back either. So yeah, that is that's a fair amount of time that Steve Hicks has lost there. Here's Tom Dix chasing Murray Adams at the moment over 14th place. So I don't know how Tom's going to feel. He might be feeling, you know, hey, I did the strategy in race 1. You weren't all supposed to join me in race 2. Yeah. But he's side by side now, heading towards the third chicane, excuse me, or fourth. Gosh, it depends where you draw the line on the chicane around Montreal. But yeah, gets the job done, and up into 14th place goes Tom Dix. Nice move there.
I go with that one being the second.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I know the one. So you've got the first one. Then it's like a little bit of an S, and it's flat. It's a flat out S as well. So that's not a chicane in my book. That's a sequence of bends. Then the one, the left and right after that. That's too wide and sweeping to be a true chicane. Hence why this one's chicane 2 for me. That's my interpretation of it at least. Here's Michael Preston, race leader. Car number 19. The Team Southampton Motorsport entry with Demon Tweaks logos on it. Very nice colour scheme, I say, for a Demon Tweaks logo. Lead Howard now 8 seconds over Chris Hansen in second place. But we saw that pit stop issue for Preston in the last race, cost him about 10 seconds. He will definitely want to make sure that doesn't affect him again here. Yeah, absolutely. Currently highest placed of your pitters, by the way, is Matt Horgan, running in that 9th place. So we've just got these 8 drivers now at the front of the field who owe us the stop. 33 seconds back is Matt Horgan from Michael Preston here. Just trying to think, is this a relatively, I suppose, sort of average length pit lane here, actually, isn't it? I'm trying to think. It is. It gives you a bit of an advantage on those coming into turn 1 and turn 2. Wasn't always that way, of course. The pit lane used to feed out pretty much into the braking zone of turn 1, which Howard, you'll be not too surprised to know that I have a vivid memory of an incident there in 1998 of all seasons. I'm completely unsurprised to know that one comes into your mind, Mr. Late 90s expert. Michael Schumacher came out the pits and sent Heinz-Harald Frentzen to the shadow. Oh yes he did. This is an interesting point in the race, by the way. The highest place of our pitters coming upon the lowest place of our yet to pitters. So Andrew Dawson there in the blue and orange. Oh, hit the wall. Oh, moment there for Tom Edwards. Yeah, Tom Edwards hit the wall there. I think he's got away with that. That was one of those okay. Oh, was the moment there for Horgan ahead of Dawson, and Edwards is going to take advantage of that. And this is classic Montreal. You're always on a knife edge around this circuit for me, Howard. And that showed it right there. But yeah, Edwards got away with that one. That was one of those nice square slaps of the wall that don't damage anything too badly. But if he'd got that a little bit more oversteer, perhaps that could have been a tie rod gone on the rear left. Yeah, it's got that perfect feel of that street circuit vibe with the close walls, but also the permanent racetrack feel to it as well. Being as it is a bit of a mix on that front, isn't it?
bit of an unusual circuit here at Gilles Villeneuve, but it creates that really interesting experience where, yes, you're absolutely on the edge as Tom Edwards goes down the inside of Andrew Dawson. And yeah, there you go. As I say, the highest place of the pitters, which is now Tom Edwards in this Falcon liveried 488.
The trouble though, Howard, as I say, you mentioned it earlier in the race, that with the way the different drivers have a bit of different speed and the strategies work out, it's not necessarily the case that your early stoppers are going to be running in clear air all the way through. We've just seen that to be not the case, and it's cost these drivers a little bit of time. The gap to your leader is now 36.7 seconds, as here's JJ Aston and Steve Hicks going at it. Both have stopped, of course, fighting over 11th position. This is looking pretty good, I think, Howard, for Michael Preston in terms of the net gains. Hicks to the outside of Aston. We'll try a bit of a switch back there, and that's a great move by Steve Hicks. Through and into 11th place.
Yeah, nice judgment there from Steve Hicks. And a bit like the move that I think we saw between Murray Adams and Kieran Fitzgerald in the first race, actually just hung JJ Aston out to dry a little bit on the exit of that chicane just to seal the deal. And as you can see now on the back straight, got a fair few car lengths between himself, so can set about focusing on what's ahead of him. And what's ahead of him is probably about to go down, because Alessandro Loro and George Palozzi have both taken to the pit lane.
They have indeed, and done right on halfway. There's the 888 rolling into its box, and a good solid opening stint there from Palozzi. He should be pleased with that one. Loro as well, one of the best stints I think I can remember him having in this series. And oh no, is he going for tyres there? I'll just see the car get jacked up. That's the tip for next time, Alexandre. I'd say you don't want to do that in these kind of races. The tyres can last more than 40 minutes. Here's on board with Christopher Powell, 769 rather. Running in 15th place. That is George Palozzi just ahead of us, having emerged from his pit stop.
Just slotted in, and now Loro has retaken to the track, and he's the next car behind us now in 16th place.
Ed Keithley and Tom Banks running behind these two drivers at the moment. Battle raging on between Adams and Palozzi. Adams goes defensive down the back straight that's not really a straight. Oh, Palozzi on the grass again. Nearly loses the back end. It's clearly got a lot of confidence under braking and stability wise with this setup, Howard. To see that he's done that a couple of times so far this evening. Is he going to go for a move down the inside into the chicane? Nearly locking it up. Murray Adams gives him a little bit of space, just enough space. That's great racing. That is just great racing between these two young drivers. Really good to see. And Murray Adams holds on to the position.
Yeah, really good stuff, but again, Palozzi's going to be in the tow. This is going to be surely a move into the final chicane. Pass on the grass, trying there. Two wheels on the grass, has managed to keep his foot in it, and George Palozzi gets the spoils of his bravery there and manages to take the position. Brilliant stuff down the back straight.
Hashtag pass on the grass. That's one for... for the short shot. Oh, but he's run deep.
Oh, he's run deep
into turn one and lost the position. Murray Adams back through. Got to give it to Murray Adams there. Tenacious driver, didn't give that one up and has forced George Palozzi into an error there.
Yeah, good stuff. Kept the pressure applied. We're seeing some good stuff in that in general. I've got to say, you know, reverse grid race, perhaps in some forms of racing can just lead to, you know, increased chaos. But I've got to say, the way that these drivers are you know, as these faster drivers are trying to come through, the standard in this field now, Andrew, is so good. We're seeing these, we were talking about it earlier with David Whitehouse, you know, these drivers who maybe haven't got as much experience and quite as much pace are still really keeping their foot in it, and you know, they're not being intimidated around this Montreal circuit. It's great to watch.
Whitehouse and Fitzgerald into the pit lane, and they will not be the last of those to come into the pits, because we're still waiting on Preston, Hansen Bennyworth and Dawson to make their pit stops.
I think this could be interesting though, Andrew. I wonder if some of the battling that we were just watching might be the kind of spot where some of these are going to be coming out. Where does David Whitehouse feed out into this? I
think you're going to be absolutely spot on here, Howard. I think Tom Dix will go by, Matt Hale will go by. In fact, no, David Whitehouse will get ahead of all of them. That has been a really good opening stint from David Whitehouse. He's got himself in the top 10 here. Matt Hale's flashing away on the lights, but that is a step forward for me for the 308 as Kieran Fitzgerald re-emerges onto circuit in 15th, so he's behind the Palozzi, Powell and Adams battle. Meanwhile, further up the order, Andrew Dawson and Matt Horgan fighting over 4th place.
Race leader in.
Yeah, race leader in now. This is a critical moment. Where does Michael Preston slot back out? Chris Hansen and Ben Bennyworth are also rolling down pit lane, so both Class 1 and Class 2 leaders into the box now. And will this hand the lead? Well, this is the question, isn't it? Will this hand the lead to the likes of Dawson, Horgan and Edwards? I don't think it's going to happen, because there's Tom Banks. He's a lap down off the lead. This has been brilliant from Michael Preston, because there are his biggest challenges for this race win. He is miles out ahead of them, Howard, and has surely just got to do these next 14 minutes, and he's got a race win on his hands and a round win as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and let's be honest, with the momentum that we've seen from Josh Ladd, Andrew, as Chris Hansen rejoins as well. And where does Ben Bennyworth come out? Oh, he's going to come out right in the mix with that David Whitehouse, Matt Hale, Tom Dix pack of cars. So this one's going to be an interesting one to watch for the remainder of the race. But yeah, if Michael Preston is going to respond to the momentum that we've seen from Josh Ladd coming into this evening, you know, don't forget 4 round wins on the trot from Josh Ladd, then he has to capitalise on these kind of moments where Josh Ladd has an off day.
He does indeed. So Michael Preston leads the race with just about 13 minutes or so to go. Andrew Dawson in second place. There he is. Has not pitted yet.
No, but what's coming up behind him is what's going to, when he does pit, those who are just behind him are going to become a highly entertaining battle over second place, I think, here, Andrew. Tom Edwards, Matt Horgan, Steve Hicks. We've got some nice stories emerging here.
And the key one that's jumping out at me, Howard, is that you've got your class leader in Class 2 there. So Matt Horgan has worked his way back ahead of Chris Hansen. It's very much been a night so far of two halves in the title battles in both Class 1 and Class 2. As here we're looking at Matt Hale trying to go down the inside of David Whitehouse, and Tom Dix around the outside as well. And I think there was a bit of contact between Dix and Bennyworth. And has Dix got a slowdown?
Yes, I think he has. As finally Andrew Dawson pits and Matt Horgan comes into the pit lane for the second time.
Yes. Now, just was he a first lap stopper for some fast repairage, which would mean he has to come back in again, because that doesn't count as a mandatory pit stop.
George Palozzi now trying to capitalise on the little contretemps for Tom Dixon. Was that a slowdown there for Murray Adams, which has dropped him down, or is he struggling with a problem? We're on board with him now. Interesting stuff, isn't it, mate? It feels like it's all kicking off now. This one had a bit of a simmer earlier on, and now all of a sudden there's all sorts of stories going on.
Just over 10 minutes of it to go. And we've got your live timing available over on the double-mm.com website. Give it a favourite and a bookmark as well for future rounds. I should say as well, there are some minor calendar changes coming up as well, just for folks to be aware of. there's still time to get involved in the championship as well. Details are in the description. Here's the battle between Whitehouse and Hale. As, ooh, did I just hear a crunch? Did I hear a crunch there? Has someone gone into the wall a little bit further back, or was it a little tap there for Bennyworth? No, looks like everyone's still running.
Got to say, Andrew, we've been talking on and off about the way that this series has, you know, been a place for drivers to develop. This battle on your screens right now, I think, is a brilliant example of it, wouldn't you say? With David Whitehouse versus Matt Hale here, two drivers who have come a long way. Matt Hale, I suppose, relative to David in this particular sense, the experienced hand in this battle, but still two drivers who have been developing. You know, I think we've mentioned before on the streams how, you know, Matt Hale has been building up his rig, and in so doing also building on his technique, just incrementally improving all the way. Obviously had the success earlier in this season with the Legends of Oval special event, which, don't forget, there's those going on as well. But his road course racing has really come on.
Has indeed, and long may it continue. 10 minutes of this one to go. Michael Preston's still in control of it. Tom Edwards and Steve Hicks going at it again over another second place. Chris Hansen, therefore, the same with Matt Horgan being in the lead of Class 2, having pitted. That means Chris Hansen has got the lead in Class 2 back. So this fight, actually, Howard, is over second place in Class 2. Don't think we mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the battle behind them developing as well over 8th place. As the key thing here, Andrew, David Whitehouse is absorbing the pressure. I think that's the point I was making. How these drivers are absorbing the pressure, not being intimidated, is a credit to them in this one. At the moment at the front, Michael J. Preston, some 16 seconds to the good, as you can see on your tracker circuit map. Nothing really to concern Michael Preston at the moment. He's not even got anyone, any traffic to worry about at the moment, so all things fine for him.
That'll be a real comfort for him as well, just to pace these laps off. Tick the time down. Matt Hale still on the lights there, trying to get past Ricky Bobby. No, it's not Ricky Bobby. It's David Whitehouse. David Whitehouse goes defensive, locks it down. That's really good defensive driving, using all that karting experience to position his car correctly. Tom Dix's eyes are going to light up at this as well, because he's going to hope he can get involved and gain a couple of positions. Here comes Matt Hale again, though, in the slipstream, on the lights, trying to find a way through, but no, Whitehouse is not going to budge. He's not going to let go of this position, because, as we say, Howard, this is key. This is very key for this class position in Class 2. Whitehouse not wanting to let this second place go.
Absolutely, mate, and yeah, by all means, well, he may very well fight, because this is absolutely on merit, a legitimate battle.
Matt Hale's had a problem there, and he's going to get overtaken by Tom Dix. So that's a little bit of breathing room for David Whitehouse, and this next couple of corners is going to be.
Oh, and JJ Aston.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. JJ Aston, I think, has had a slowdown penalty. I think it's a big one. Look how many positions he's going to lose here. Or is it damage? No, it looks like he's back up to speed now, but that's a real shame for Aston. He's lost, what was that, 3 positions? 4 positions?
Yeah, very costly there in this pack of cars for Aston, because he was running up in 5th place, now down to 8th. So that's a costly mistake there. Should just say the gap in the battle over 2nd place has now got to below a second. In fact, let's just cut to them. Actually, I don't mean that, do I? I mean the battle over 3rd.
Yeah, and Chris Hansen is being a nuisance to the Class 1 drivers again. I've also spotted that Hicks is gone with a JV helmet as well. Good commitment to the cause there from Steve Hicks. 1997 world champion. This being his home circuit. Good drive there from
This
Hansen
is
between
the
turn 1 to turn 2.
it's pretty much the only Club 100 context in which JV stands for Gilles Villeneuve.
Five minutes of the race to go. Back on board with David Whitehouse, looking back at Tom Dix there in the Jägermeister car. Whitehouse soaking up all this pressure. You can see Matt Hale still there. Second back, 7th overall, 3rd in class number 2. JJ Aston has got back past Bennyworth, is that, or is he? No, that's because he's held that position. Alexandre Oloros into the pit lane meanwhile. Tom Dix trying to find a way through here, past David Whitehouse, into the second chicane. Good on the brakes there is Tom Dix. Dix in the 69, trying to find his way through. Is he going to have a move down into the hairpin? Whitehouse is going to go defensive, wants to hold on to this 5th place overall, not just thinking about Class 2. Dix trying to go round the outside. Is that going to offer the opportunity to Hale to get through? But no, I think Dix has got it. That's, again, really good racing tonight from the field. But we have seen Whitehouse fight back in this situation as well, when he gets in the slipstream. And once again, here comes the 308. Trying to go round the outside into the wall of Champion Chicane, but wisely as JJ Aston goes for pit lane. Tom Dix there up to 5th place. With some great scraps tonight, Howard, involving David Whitehouse.
Indeed, mate. I've got to ask why JJ Aston is on the pit lane again, actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought he'd pitted in an absolutely fine and legal way. Back with our battle in Class 2, David Whitehouse and Matt Hale. Now, Tom Dix has got through, but this is still for 2nd place in your class, denoted by the blue counters on your timing tower on the left of the screen. Only a matter of laps to go here at Montreal. Comfortable lead still for Michael Preston. Nearly 18 seconds out ahead of Tom Edwards, who himself has been in absolutely stellar form tonight, Howard. The number 58 is 5 seconds clear of Steve Hicks. One of his strongest performances of the year so far. On board with Ben Bennyworth now. Struggling with a little grip there, I think, out of the medium speed corners. Wants to be on the tail of Matt Hale's G3 Pro machine. Just doesn't seem quite able to do that at the moment. Two minutes then for the drivers. 2 more laps. Leader just starts a new one. 136.009. He's nice and calm at the moment. Doesn't need to push the car overly hard. See George Palozzi, his teammate, just in the background there, looking like he's on for a top 10. Maybe more if these drivers trip over one another. Matt Hale a little bit deep there into turn number 1. Clearly pushing very hard, and this is going to be the opportunity now for Ben Bennyworth. Matt Hale chops across there, takes the defensive line, defends it well, holds on to 7th place.
Yeah, it was a good reaction there from Matt Hale, and just did the right thing, by the way. He didn't squeeze Ben there. He left the room just about, but also moved just enough to deter a move from him. You did mention George Palozzi and Murray Adams. That is closing up nicely. It's just hovering around at a second. In fact, it just dipped below a second as I looked across at timing. So Palozzi versus Adams is going to be another one to keep an eye on.
And something happened. Yes, Matt Hale's got through.
Yeah, David Whitehouse was slow for some reason, perhaps misjudged things into the chicane, or maybe some slowdown penalty. He's got to defend now against Ben Bennyworth through the hairpin. What's Bennyworth's drive off the corner going to be like? It's going to be pretty good if there's room and there's contact.
And that's a real shame. And that's a huge hit! A huge hit on David Whitehouse. And, well, I did fear that was going to happen because George Palozzi had nowhere to go there. Huge impact right at the end of this race. We're mere seconds away from the 40 minutes and both of them are out. Whitehouse is in the catch fencing there. George Palozzi's somehow still got drive, but surely the engine's gone there. And that's 2 great drives. Ended. Real shame. I think I'll try and have another look back at it. I think the problem was that maybe Whitehouse wasn't quite aware of where or both drivers weren't quite aware of where each other were.
Yeah, it's that left-hand kink, isn't it? Just as you come out the hairpin, that 99% of the time is a fairly meaningless, innocuous. It's just the area in which you put the hammer down to get onto the back straight. But if you're side by side, you've got to take it into account.
Well,
that's so disappointing.
Yeah, George Palozzi recovers to the pits. David Whitehouse retires to pit lane as well. What that means is that Tom Banks has gained some positions out of that. Alexandre Loro will as well. And Michael Preston, Howard, has come over the line. He's won. He's got the race win.
Oh, begging his pardon, sorry. It's that dominant.
That far ahead. He takes the win in the race. He takes the round as well. Tom Edwards, superb stuff. I think he's going to have second place in the round with that. His finishes there. A very strong night in the 58. Third for Steve Hicks. Fourth for Chris Hansen, and takes another win in Class 2. And we'll cut back to Tom Dix, who's had a battling night, but has battled well. And is going to finish here in the top 5 in the final race of the evening. Good points for him in the title fight. Matt Hale's going to get 6th place. That's a proper old school Formula 1 points finish. Murray Adams in 7th place. Hale in 2nd place in Class 2 as well. 3rd for Murray Adams. Chris Powell next in 8th. Ben Bennyworth 9th. Andrew Dawson in 10th. We'll see how the points shake out there. So there's going to be a huge hit here, and we've gone off to space. 11th for Matt Horgan. 12th for Ed Keithley. What's happened here?
That's before the line.
Kieran Fitzgerald has gone full Tony Hawk before the finish line. What has happened there? And I think it's going to cost him positions maybe as well. JJ Aston 13th, a chaotic finish. JJ Aston is crabbing over the line. It's like the 24 hours of lemons out there. Gets 13th. Now is Fitzgerald? I just wonder, is that an incident between Aston and Fitzgerald that's triggered that one off? Chris Powell's had a good night.
I think it must be. I think it must be, mate. I mean, I had to do a double take there because, of course, everyone does their sort of usual smashing moment after the line, and then there's a sudden realisation that was on the back straight. As this is Chris Powell, he just happens to be he'll be the last person to cross the line. Was just having a little bit of a thing on his lonesome. I can see. I could just see on the chat Andrew Dawson putting in an apology to Kieran there, so I think it will be contact between those two.
Okay.
Oh, I thought Chris Powell was coming. What just happened to Chris Powell?
Oh, he's got his pit entry at the end of the race wrong. He's already
sorry.
checkered flagged.
Sorry, yeah, he has checkered flagged. That was it. He was the only person who decided to go around and finish the lap, and well, he didn't quite. So there we go. What an end! What
an end indeed. Let's have a look at the race result, mate. Yes, let's do that. For the feature race, Michael Preston wins the race, wins the round. Tom Edwards 2nd, Steve Hicks in 3rd, Chris Hansen in 4th, Tom Dix in 5th, Matt Hale in 6th place. Murray Adams finishes there in 7th place, 8th in the end for Chris Powell, and at nearly a full lap back to the pits. 9th place for Ben Bennyworth, 10th for Andrew Dawson, 11th for Matt Horgan, 12th for Ed Keithley, 13th JJ Aston, George Palozzi. We're into the ones that had real problems now. George Palozzi involved in that incident at the end there in 14th, 15th for Kieran Fitzgerald, 16th Tom Banks, 17th for David Whitehouse, 18th for Alexandria Loro, and 2 retirements, and one of them quite key as well. Josh Ladd did 2 laps, Craig Brown did the 1. It's funny actually, because the last time, as I say, we did a stream here round Montreal, we had to go and have a little look at a replay late on, mate. So I think we've got to do the same again. We've got to have a little look at what happened at the back end of that race. Hopefully you can still hear me, by the way.
Yeah.
And we've got to look back at this. What did happen? I've just got to make some changes on SDK to give myself control back. Apologies if this makes the whole stream go wibble, folks. Because we've got to see what happened there with David Whitehouse towards the end of the race. Bear with me, folks. But whilst I'm doing that, Howard, sum up this evening for me.
It has been a fitting return, I think, to the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve. It was. I know we had a bit of well, we don't fully know what transpired, do we? But potentially a bit of a scruffy end to it there. I think it's actually been a really high caliber of racing for the vast majority of this. I think it's been really good to see. I don't want to keep overstating the point, but the balance of skill across that second race. I think earlier on in the life cycle of this Legends Championship, maybe even just this season alone, having a reverse grid race wouldn't look like that. That wouldn't have been how it would have gone down. So I think
just got it back on screen, Howard.
I know there were a few issues perhaps towards the end there, but yeah. And, massively impressed with some of our drivers there.
Yeah, it was a case of, I think Whitehouse wasn't quite aware that Bennyworth was alongside him, and the contact was made, and then George Palazzi just had nowhere to go, and that resulted in Whitehouse ending on his roof. Apologies, Howard, because I know you can't see this at your end. I'm now going to go and find the Kieran Fitzgerald incident, and sorry to cut across the summary there of the events. Next one up there, of course, mate, Silverstone. Near to Silverstone Grand Prix weekend, and I think we're all looking forward to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, really good to go to another track that featured on our inaugural season. In fact, was it? I feel like it did go Montreal Silverstone for the very first season. I could be wrong, and unless you're going to correct me, and I might have this wrong because there have been a few changes and stuff. Are we in the Mazdas for Silverstone?
You've got me there. I think we might be, and
I think we are.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I think we are, but either way, it's going to be great to be going around the home of British motorsport, as you say, set to chime with the actual British Grand Prix, one of the key weekends in the motorsport calendar. So that'll be a lot of fun, I think. There is also somewhere in amongst all of that the Rallycross special event.
Yes.
Isn't it? That's not too far in the distance either. So we won't be doing the streaming of that in the sort of conventional way that we do this main championship, but I'm sure we'll have something to show the folks out there, Andrew, when it comes to that event.
Sorry, Alex, I'm just playing replays again. We've now got a crabbing race, and what happened between Fitzgerald and Easton. Oh, you'll have to watch this back, mate, because this has all got a little. Yeah,
I can't wait to. You know what I'm going to have to do?
We're going to find out now how Fitzgerald ends up on a barrier. But we've literally got two cars, both with broken rear lefts. Oh dear, this is not going to go well, chaps. And in fact, Fitzgerald's done it to himself, which is fair enough. And that's how we're going to end the stream tonight, folks, with absolute chaos. Here it's probably one of the best circuits in the world for chaos. So of course, we like coming here, don't we, mate?
Oh, we do. I love it. Absolutely love it. It is always a really good round. I think it has delivered. And yeah, whilst we're talking about the cars, and I've spoken about the perhaps less experienced drivers who have impressed me tonight. How about that for Michael J. Preston? He's for my money, mate. He's put thrown the gauntlet down, or he's responded to the gauntlet that was thrown down. Perhaps is more appropriate by Josh Ladd, and on a round where Josh Ladd, it's clearly not gone his way. Preston has done exactly what he needed to. good nights racing from Tom Edwards, got to say that as well, and Steve Hicks keeping himself in there as well with another consistent result. So from a championship perspective, I think it's kept things really nice and tasty there, and good nights as well for Chris Hansen, Matt Hale, Murray Adams in Class 2. They've had good ones as well. So I think both championships remain alive and well, as we've now officially just about passed over the halfway stage of our 13-round championship.
We have indeed. Here's a quick rundown of stuff to look forward to on the DDMM YouTube channel. Lid at the weekend. We'll have a vlog off the back of that. We've actually got back-to-back Club 100 weekends because the now returned Bookmore Park round, this is the one that was GYG, but it's been pulled forward earlier in the year. So that's Lid this Saturday, Bookmore Park the following Saturday. Still looking to see if we can do something for BUKC finals as well, which is the following Saturday. There'll be a Wilton Mill Kart Club that weekend as well, so that's the weekend of the 26th and 27th. We weren't able to bring you commentary from Super 1 at the weekend at GYG for reasons out of our control, but we are hoping to be there for the weekend of the 3rd and 4th of July at Clay Pigeon for the second meeting of that championship. The following weekend we've then got more Club 100 and a Club 100 Sprints streamed round. That'll be at Rye House, and I'm mentioning all of this, Howard, because that's everything that we've got in before the next Legends round, which is on the 14th of July, Bastille Day. Very good for any French followers, so there's something to look forward to on the French national holiday. We won't be in France, of course. We will be at Silverstone. That'll be round 8 of the 2021 Legends of Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. And with that, I think I've lost Howard. I think his Discord's broken. We will end the stream for this evening. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed,
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. You're still here. If you have,
I'm still here.
If you have enjoyed, do subscribe if you haven't done so already. Give that like button a press, the notification bell, all of that YouTubey stuff. And we'll be back with more content here on the DDMM YouTube channel very, very soon. For tonight here from Montreal, though, thank you very much for watching and goodbye.